So, let me talk now about something that is close to my heart, and it is abortion. And this is why my channel is about abortion. All right, so, geez, abortion, I mean, it just destroys women, destroys them if they let it. So I was watching this thing that I just put on my post about Kristen Hawkins, and I had another memory come back. A feeling came back when I watched this. So when you have an abortion, it's like, everything else is just pushed way, way back. And then as you heal from the abortion, you're feeling the stuff come back. So, a girl was insulting Kristen Hawkins, and she was saying, you might not want to worry about that water, but all the Mountain Dews you drink, because Kristen Hawkins is overweight, right? And she acknowledges that. She's like, I'm overweight, and she had a nice comeback. She said, just because I'm overweight doesn't mean I can't be pro-life. So the point of this nasty comment was for this girl to say, you shouldn't be representing, pro-life stuff. You shouldn't be having morals because you're fat. So, Kristen dealt with it so graciously. She's like, well, I actually haven't had sugar in 3 weeks, and I'm proud of myself. So, when we see these comments, this is the same tactics used with girls who get pregnant, right? It's not just the weight. The weight is, you're fat when we have other women around us insulting us, and, it's you're not good enough. That's the message, right? And I had this feeling, and I remembered, that feeling of you're not good enough. It wasn't just pregnant. It wasn't just a pregnancy of, oh my goodness, you made a mistake, and, how could you do that? How could you make a mistake? How could you, you're flawed, right? You're flawed. So, yeah, we're humans and we're going to make mistakes. It's part of life. But even going back before the whole pregnancy for me, okay, so I was, a skinny kid. I mean, I was always outside playing and stuff, so I was a skinny kid. And my mother has pictures of me in a bikini, like at 7 or 8, posing. So, I didn't really have any body fat, right? But I remember going shopping, maybe at like 11, 12 or so. And I remember just the shopping we were always shopping. Not that I always got something, but my grandmother and my aunt Kim and my mother, we always were shopping. So I don't really like to shop now because we were always, doing that. So we were at, I think it was Fashion Arena in Hooksett, by Kmart in Hooksett. Years ago, they had this store, and I was with my great-grandmother Ruth, and we were shopping there. But I remember they had these mirrors, right? And I wasn't fat, but every time in the mirror, it was extreme. It was, whether it was my aunt being like, oh, I had too many calories today, or, oh, this doesn't look good from the back, or do you think this belt looks good, or do you think this shirt looks nice, and just the constant self, awareness about your body. Do you think this looks good? Or me going into Bradley's and Concord and, trying on a bra or trying on clothes, and just the constant outside criticism of how you look, right? Criticism or compliments. I mean, lucky for me, I had tons of compliments, especially when I started working. All the guys liked me. But still, that sense of, do I look okay? Is this okay? Am I going to fit in over here? How's my clothes look? Do my clothes, public school, my goodness. My mother luckily dressed me nice in public school. My husband only had like stupid sneakers, and he got made fun of. But cheap sneakers. But, we had the cool stuff. And luckily for me, my mother did do that. But the criticism when you're growing up, kids can be cruel, right? Does this look good? Does that look good? So if you did have a flaw in your clothing or you started to gain weight, it was like everybody knew, or what's that pimple on your face? Or, so there is that before a girl is even pregnant, there is that, um, you know, criticism. And those are just naysayers, right? When you have naysayers around you, they are going to drag you down. So, like with Kristen, she's got a weight issue she's working on, right? And I can relate to her. I'm working on my weight, right? It's normal. So, that criticism of whether somebody just doesn't fit that picture, and I remember going out and seeing other women, and they were like, just the criticism. Oh, that person's too fat, or that person's like this, or that person's like that. That comparison constantly will say, you're not good enough, you're too fat. Same thing with the pregnancy. If you go out of an expectation, of actually getting pregnant when you are actually having sex, oh my goodness, right? So it's not the actual pregnancy, it's not the actual sex, it's that our expectation or this expectation of being pregnant when you actually are having sex. It's a catch-21. You can't win, right? If you have sex, you can have, you're going to have babies. So the naysaying, the criticism is really where the problem is. It's not so much that you're going to have a baby when you're young, because lots of people have babies when they're young. It's not that you're, you're having sex outside of marriage, and if you weren't taught that, then that was fine. It's the negative criticism and naysayers who are always trying to pull you down. That is the problem. So that's when you have to come up and grow stronger in who you are and be around people who build you up. That's what you want. So I was built up from my aunt always built me up and brought me like nice clothes for my birthday and everything. But you want people who build you up. And like I said, my aunt was the one who stuck up for me when her friend was like, oh, Melissa's boy crazy, right? Or my mom was pretty critical of me, but and then she would be okay with me, but kind of the back and forth. My grandmother usually favored me quite a bit, but it's that, wherever you are, it's that criticism, the accusations, the criticism over here, where you feel like you are afraid to do anything, right? So what you have to do is you have to rise above it, and you just have to be like, you know what, I know myself. And this is hard during your teen years, okay, when you have everyone else giving you input about yourself, and you have to rise above it, and you have to be like, look, I like myself, this is who I am, I know myself, I love who I am. And that's how I feel about myself. I don't, like, when I was a teen, there was a time I felt, like I didn't really like myself because I didn't know myself. But when you're a teenager and you have people constantly giving you input of how you should act, what you should say, what you should do, it is really difficult, and that's part of growing up. It's really difficult to, rise above it and say, actually, no, that's not what I think, and no, that's not how I feel, and this is what I think. So if you can develop yourself, like I had to do that with my in-laws. They kept, they're naysayers. They kept tearing me down, and I had to say, actually, when you said this, this is what I think. And when you wrote me that in your letter, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how I feel. And that sense of self-protectiveness has to be there in order for you to operate in life. And hopefully I have a young girl watching this, because there's a lot of young girls. Like there was a situation I just heard of this young girl who, I'm trying to be careful how I say this. She, in the home she was brought up in, there were drugs all the time, right? So she had a situation where she got in trouble. She's in some detention thing. She was in a detention place because she had gotten in trouble and made a bad choice. Well, now that she is doing better, she's in a situation again with people around her who want to bring her down. And so she's a young girl. I'm looking forward to reaching out to her. And these are the people that you need to stay away from. The people who are going to tear you down and bring you back into bad choices. So that's what I got. I've got to go run out and do something. But I wanted to share that too now that I thought about it. So check out my community post. Check out how Kristen Hawkins has handled the criticism directed toward her weight. And even me with my husband, like, oh, you are not keeping your name. And I'm thinking, this is my name. This is my identity. My identity's in Christ, no matter what name I have. But this is the name I choose to keep. And I am keeping it. So, you have to speak up to people who try to tear everything away from you, all the money that you were supposed to get, everything that you earn in life. They will take everything away from you. And I saw this when my son was homeless. I mean, they will take the shirt off your back plus. So you have to stand up for yourself, ladies.